All right, guys, welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Mike Davis versus Viecheslav Borshchev, who I'm probably just going to call Slavakos because I'm pretty sure I just butchered his first and last name. All right, so Slavakos is fighting Mike Davis. Mike Davis, I'd love to see him fight more often because he's a guy that every time he fights, he leaves me wanting more. He's been in there with Sadiq Youssef, his Contender Series fight, which was a war. Really fucking amazing fight, that fight. And Mike Davis lost, but he still looked great in it. And I'm not even sure if he had a fight between then and the UFC, or if he just got right into the UFC, which he absolutely deserved. But he's looked really good in the UFC. Really good in the UFC. Knocked out Thomas Gifford. He was beaten by Gilbert Burns, which I'm sure we could all forgive because that's Gilbert Burns. Really tough fight to have, especially I think that was his debut. And he had that great victory over Mason Jones, which hasn't aged as well since Mason Jones was taken out by who the fuck is it? I don't know. Fuck. Ludwig Klein. That's what it was. See, took me a while, but I got there. Ludwig Klein. But anyway, Mike Davis, still, there's a lot of upside with him. I really like what I see from him as a fighter, and that's largely a striker, even though I think he's first and foremost a wrestler. And in this fight, he may want to try wrestling. I'm assuming that's what he's coming into this fight looking to do. That's what I put in my head because I know his coaches have seen Slavakos versus Mark Giacchese, which if you guys have seen that fight, that was his last one. It wasn't pretty. It was one of the shittiest fights ever, and it was just a fighter being shut down and nullified via wrestling for 3 rounds. It wasn't pretty at all. And even though Mike Davis just seems like a guy who's never going to fight that way, it's what I'd love to see from him. Because you can do that from a position of strength where you come in and it's your game plan, or you can do it from a position of weakness where you get rocked by a K1 champion and you find out you got a double leg right in front of you. You may as well take it. Which a lot of Mike Davis's takedowns he's shown, he's got a great double leg against Sadiq Youssef and whoever else in the middle of a firefight. That's when he's good. So that's what has me picking Mike Davis, because I do think engaging in a striking battle, I think he'll be outpointing Slavakos, but it's not a good fight for him. Slavakos is really tight defensively. He's very technically sound, and he's got really sharp, surprising strikes. Uncorks that left hook out of nowhere, uppercut. We've seen it in his few UFC fights, Contender Series fights, and whatever. He's, Slavakos is a very dangerous fighter, very dangerous striker, and Mike Davis, even though that's become his bread and butter, and he's found the majority, if not all of his success, throwing his hands, this is not the fight where you want to get caught. You want to get hurt and have to rely on that double leg in the middle of a firefight. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm assuming he's coming into the fight with a game plan, looking to take the fight to the ground because that's absolutely his best path to victory. And he's a wrestler. He was a wrestler, before he started throwing hands. So that's my prediction. Mike Davis, I think he gets it done via decision. I think it will be a closer fight and a more exciting fight, obviously, than the Giacchese fight. But I do think he's going to lean on his wrestling here. Slavakos, of course, his coaches have seen the Mark Giacchese fight. They're right there for it, so you can bet your ass he's been working on his wrestling defense. It looked abysmal. He dropped like 12 takedowns there. It just looked abysmal. So it seems like anytime anyone wants to take him down, they're going to take him down. Of course, we're going to come to a point, hopefully, where that just changes. Could be right here, but I'm not betting on it. I think Davis's wrestling will be there for him. But if Slavakos has, made any sort of significant changes or improvements in his takedown defense, this could be his fight. He's, like I said, he is the most dangerous guy, I want to say, on his feet. He's got knockout power, and he's really sound defensively. Obviously, he's a K1 champion back in wherever the fuck, Macedonia, some shit, 10 years ago. Don't quote me on that Macedonia thing. But either way, he's been striking for a very long time. and he knows how to protect himself. Of course, he's been knocked around, I'm sure, as well, with such a long kickboxing career. He knows how to protect himself. He knows how to recover, and he absolutely knows how to pick his shots. He's a sniper in that regard, and I could see him against the cage, defending against Mike Davis's strikes, and eventually his wrestling, and just uncorking a left hook that changes the round, if not the fight. So he's very much still in this. I do think Slavakos, he's, I can't say he's, destined to have a long UFC career after that loss, but I want to see his wrestling improve to the point where I know he'll be hanging around the UFC for some time. But, that still remains up in the air. But I do think he is absolutely capable of knocking out some really good fighters. And this would be the biggest victory yet. It would be a big surprise, too, for me, because Mike Davis, he's been hurt before, but he's recovered. He looks like the better overall fighter. So overall, I'm going with Mike Davis. I think he's going to get it done leaning on his wrestling. Waiting to see the decision odds, but I do have him at minus 170. Those are enticing enough odds for me, so I played that in a few parlays. The over-under is set at minus 115 each for over and under 2.5 rounds. That's not worth it to me because these guys are both so dangerous. And even Mike Davis with his hands, he's outgunned technically here, but he's still a very dangerous, good striker himself. So him getting a finish is not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion. But Mike Davis via decision is my prediction.